howdy. Welcome to Awkward Conversations. Is this like the awkwardest conversation?
Might be.
That's not a word, but we got us a topic today. You want to introduce?
Nope.
You don't want to introduce said topic?
Nope.
Wow. This topic, I'll introduce it here in that one of us knows more about this topic than the other. Well, maybe not. We'll find out. So we're going to talk about intimacy and the conversation that we...
i.e. sex.
Waited. Well, is it? I mean...
That's part of the defining part of it.
Is it?
It's
so,
like, what are we talking? Because intimacy is vastly different than sex. But when you say intimacy, a ton of people think sex.
Right. This is why I said one of us knows more about this topic than the other. So what is intimacy? Because the topic is intimacy, the conversation we waited too long to have or that we're avoiding having. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So the definition of intimacy is something that I think, I don't know if I hate to put anything in a box, but I think for men in general, mm-hmm. the concept of intimacy and what it actually means, because I guess I've thought it's certainly a whole lot more than sex.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think in terms of, you don't typically say, I want to be intimate with my friend, but I do.
Okay.
But people would misconstrue that because as a whole, generally,
right,
they think being intimate is having sex. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I mean, the one night stands, it's obvious those aren't the same thing.
Right.
And yet people use that word. So I do think it's important to define the difference. Like,
I do too.
Are we talking about intimacy or are we talking about sex?
Right. So I like that we're starting here because I think for this episode, this is part of why. What did we say? Intimacy, the conversation we waited too long to have or that we're avoiding still. Mm-hmm. Part of it is this issue. As I've been thinking about this episode, this is part of the issue. You stay away from talking about something because you're either typically, well, it can be lots of reasons, but I think a couple of the reasons would be you don't understand it, so you stay away from it, mm-hmm. and therefore you're uncomfortable for whatever reasons, right? I think it'd be multiple reasons, but I think couples stay away from conversations mm-hmm. and around intimacy. So for guys, for example, mm-hmm. I think the greater hesitation around wanting to venture into a conversation on intimacy would be the emotional side of intimacy, mm-hmm. which is, I'm going to say this, guys, because I believe this. I'm not going to say I understand it or that I'm good at it or any of those things, but I think the emotional side of it is the key critical point. And I say that because like you just made a monumental point and you flew right by it, but the marriage relationship, if you're going to talk about sex, the marriage relationship is totally different than a one night stand. Mm-hmm. And yet I would have to say, and this is why it's awkward, that if even in the marriage relationship, if the emotional component is not, can I say strong, cultivated, the bigger piece of the puzzle, mm-hmm. then that's where dysfunction comes in, and that's where it's more like a series of one-night stands. I mean, that's probably maybe a bad analogy, but I
follow you.
I'm saying that emotional content to intimacy has to be the bigger piece for there to be a healthy relationship sexually in marriage.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
So if I didn't paint that well for her, I probably didn't for you. So I hope maybe does that make sense now?
You're saying that for there to be healthy sexual relations within marriage, mm-hmm. intimacy is a huge part of that, mm-hmm. if not the bigger part.
Absolutely. And the emotional side, if intimacy is defined as an emotional connection, which I think is probably more fair, mm-hmm. then that has to be in place.
Yeah.
And this is why we avoid these conversations, because like creating that emotional connection, cultivating it, nurturing it, taking care of it. I think for a guy, again, being dangerously generic here, would be that becomes the bigger challenge and therefore the bigger piece of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is why we avoid this conversation. I say we, and I say we. Mm-hmm. This gets avoided for these reasons.
Mm-hmm. I think it's hard because I think a lot of couples start out intimately in that they do connect emotionally. Otherwise, you don't get to the point of getting married. Generally, like there has to have been some sort of like emotional connection. You were connecting on some levels in an emotional way.
Sure.
And again, that's a general statement. I'm sure there's plenty of times where that's not the case. But anyway, I think part of what makes this conversation hard for me is I have these ideas about what should be, what is ideal.
Right.
And I think it is hard to put into words what intimacy in a marriage looks like, unless you are a person who, there's plenty of people who have studied intimacy, studied sexual desires. And so they've studied that, they know how to talk about it. For me, this is very hard to talk about because I don't have the terminology. I don't have the information. I don't have and I think this is part of what happened for us is that space of, we've talked a little bit. I don't want to jump on the bandwagon of the purity culture was horrible and evil, but also the purity culture had some tendencies to say things and lean into things that were not helpful in understanding marriage, sex within marriage, intimacy within marriage. Yeah. And I think that's not to say I think you should be sexually promiscuous before marriage. I think there's truth and reality to maintaining purity in your sexual life before you get married. Yeah. I think it is healthy and right to stay pure until you're married. But I also see, because of what we were taught, the damage that did for us. And I think in some ways still affects us to this day. So this is just, I know we're just at the beginning of this conversation, but this is a hard conversation for me because there's so much history. There's so much not understanding. There's so much this idea of what is ideal, and that's not how it has worked or is supposed to work. So anyway, this is just a hard topic for me. I mean, it's hard for you and I to just talk about. That's fine. We can talk about it, but it's harder when we're producing a video about it, because I think in my head, when we're producing a video, it's supposed to be something about something I have something to say about, that I have some confidence, some answer, some clarity. Right. And that is not the case here in this. So I find it difficult. Right. And that's fair. And I think, I don't know if you all don't know her like I do, you could hear in that dialogue, which was excellent, by the way. You unpacked that well. You were careful and calculated just now in your conversation. Yeah. And that's okay. I mean, that's part of it, because you're wanting to be respectful and cautious because it is a challenging topic. And I'll just remind you, and I'll remind you also, that we're not
these videos are not designed to, sometimes we do pick topics where we do have some very clear things to say, but then the other side,
as well as biblical stances that we feel like are important and need to be stated.
Yeah, but even in those, the overriding goal of these videos is to spur the courage to have a conversation. So in this case, we're going to be clear with you right now. We're not coming today with lots of great answers. I've got a couple, but what we are coming today with is, I hope that you can take some courage to have the conversation. Excuse me. And that's what, if this video will do this for people, and maybe even it moves us also, having that conversation. And towards the end of the video, I will give some input as to what I think some action steps could be.
Right.
Answers, maybe not, no, but action steps, right?
Yeah.
So, but I like what you just said. I would like to push in just a tiny bit more in that, sometimes we see this in our individual lives, but then we see it culturally. And we see it not just we maybe see it in our national culture, but also in our Christian culture, that sometimes when you get in a ditch on one side, we use the term knee jerk, you overcorrect, We both grew up in the country, and so we know dirt roads and so forth. And one of the things I remember being taught early on is, if you're on a dirt road, if your tires get caught, say, you're too close to one ditch or whatever, don't jerk the wheel. Right. Gently move it, because if you jerk it, you're going to fly over into the other ditch, right?
Yeah.
One ditch to the other ditch. Well, that's what happened.
I think in life we do that. We jerk.
We do.
To this ditch and then to this ditch.
We do.
It's no wonder we're a mess sometimes.
Well, right,
because that.
And that hurts, right? So I think, in fairness, so you unpacked a little bit earlier the whole purity culture thing. The 60s and 70s, all the free love, free sex, drugs, whatever, was way in one ditch. So what happened in the late 70s and the 80s, and I suppose 90s? Whoa, we slammed clear over into the other ditch, and it left a lot of us caught in that. And you said it well, and I want to reinforce it, because I think this is another one of the challenges that we face, and that I'm sure people out there face, is you said it, left us with no verbiage or concept. We went way over into the ditch on this other side, and we were left with no concept of what is the middle of the road here. Because other than you're
supposed to stay completely pure until marriage, and then what? Then we weren't taught anything.
Nothing.
And that's the problem is,
yes.
Okay, I did that. Woo-hoo, like, I won.
And that's not bad.
I stayed pure till marriage. But then after marriage.
Now what?
It's a free-for-all? Like, what? There was no instruction, no construct, no what should be, should not be, what is fair, what is not fair.
Yeah.
And so it was very fine up until marriage. But then once you're married, then there's this massive confusion about why does that paper change everything?
Well, and
but also give you no clarity and direction about what sex and or intimacy.
Exactly.
I will use that interchangeably in this moment. Just now.
Yeah.
What does that then look like within marriage?
Exactly.
And there's nothing about that.
Now, I think there was nothing about that as we were going through it. Now, I think there have been some attempts, and maybe there's some pretty good ones actually at bringing some of that back to the center. So that would be some of the action steps we could recommend. Would be, there are some things now, but it does leave us, and I'm quite certain some of you, in a position to where listen, I know this is uncomfortable. I don't like it to some degree any more than a lot of people, but you kind of have to do the work then, right? You were dealt the cards you were dealt. Some of them were great, some of them not.
Yep.
And this could be true in a lot of ways, but certainly on this topic, this is true. You were dealt what you were dealt. But are you just going to sit there, or are you going to, then you can, we have the option to do something with it.
Yeah. So now, if we want our marriage to be healthy, and in this arena, when we're talking about intimacy and sex within that, when we're talking about that, there has to be, if we want to be healthy, there has to be some discussion there has to be some potentially outside input.
Absolutely.
And I think it's just important to know that you can either just keep doing what you've done and be awkward, uncomfortable,
right,
have different feelings about it,
right,
whatever.
Yeah.
Or you can seek out answers and help and understanding.
Yeah.
And that, I think, that's personally where I'm at. Like, I am at that place of like, okay, things are where they are. How do we effectively, healthily,
right,
enjoy the marriage relationship and intimacy and sex within our marriage
right
now?
And I think that is, it's you just said it. I wish we had come to that place 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So
that would have been good.
It would have, but we're here and today is today.
Yeah. Yeah.
If anybody invents time travel, that might be one of the things I would reset, is go back 20 or 25 years. I don't know. And be a little more, mature in it and a little more aware of, but I don't know about you. I'd be curious if you have thoughts on this or maybe not, but part of the stigma I've had to get over is there was and I don't know why I had this, but there was a stigma that, sorry, I'm stammering here because I'm processing this and I'm realizing what I'm about to say. Is part of this is my personality, and I think part of it was culture, is to ask for help was weakness. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that was some personality and some of the culture maybe that I adopted personally. Mm-hmm. So I've had to navigate personally through that. Right. The other thing, I think there was a bit of a stigma in the world, and certainly the Christian world at some point, that if you're seeking counsel, it was because you're not trusting God. You're not. Well, there's that too.
Like God should be everything you need, so you don't need to go seek help because you have God. Why do you need to seek help elsewhere?
Right. I hadn't even thought about that, but that was a stigma.
That's why.
And now I think it's kind of gone. Maybe it's gone too far the other way. But if you sought out counseling, you're pretty messed up.
Yeah.
That was like a last ditch effort.
Yeah.
And I had to get past some of that.
That has changed a tremendous amount, which is awesome.
We won't go into that. Excuse me. But I think I said I'd do it at the end of the video. I don't know the word at the end of the video, but I think action steps, right? We're kind of ventured there. So I do think, excuse me, having some conversation. And you kind of have to determine how that happens.
Yeah.
And I say you have to determine because you may have some work to do. Is it okay to use that word? Like, I had to get to the point to where I was like, all right, I want to have these conversations. I don't know how to do it. What are the tools? Mm-hmm. Are there books? Are there websites? And I have for only the last year or two, there have been a couple of things I've searched out, and man, things just kept falling flat. I'm like, okay, this guy here, he's developed a whole marriage thing. I just don't like him. That was a real life thing. I'm like, I don't even know that what he's doing is bad. I just think the guy kind of comes across as a jerk. Yeah. And so I don't really want to learn from somebody like that. So I put that aside, and I read this book. Well, that's okay, but that's just a lot of platitudes. Maybe some of it's me, but you read this book, you read that book. Finally, I don't mind saying, we've found a counselor that I believe is speaking to us well.
Yeah.
That's been helpful. Now, so I'm just saying, there are tools out there, whether it's counselors. And by the way, don't get stuck like I did in the idea that, well, there's no counselors out there that fit well. Now, trust me, there are a lot of counselors that aren't going to fit you well. Maybe they're still very much stuck in things that on their own, with purity culture or whatever. We have finally found someone that I would say is speaking to us well. Now, where does that go? We'll see.
Yeah.
I hope.
But I think there's all kinds of avenues.
I do too. There's books, right?
That's the key is
find,
book, podcast, live, face-to-face counselor, email counselor, Zoom, friends, pastors, and even that for us, I don't even, because of what I had been taught
Yeah.
as a girl growing up, and even in when I was older, what I had been taught in the church world, no way am I trusting a pastor to go talk to him about
There's a whole story
marriage.
there if you don't know
Like
it. Yeah.
that, no,
Yeah.
absolutely not. So I'm saying, hopefully that's not your pastor.
Yeah, sure.
Hopefully you can find a good pastor, but
Right.
there's help available when it comes to this topic. And the longer you avoid it,
Mhm.
the more dysfunctional, the more frustrating, the more unhelpful it will be, right?
Yeah.
That's why you say
Yeah.
if we could go back 20 years. So I think one of the things is ask for input,
Yeah.
get insight,
Yeah.
gain understanding. When he says do the work, that's what we're talking about. Gain understanding, get help, get input.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the
I would
first
agree.
steps.
Mhm.
Have the discussion, talk, right? We tend to
And
do
that-
those things that we are
Yeah.
uncomfortable, that we don't understand, that we're scared of. We want to shut them in a little closet,
Mhm.
put them, on the back shelf that we never have to look at it again. But that's
Right.
just not the reality when you're talking about you want a healthy marriage. This is a topic that is part of a healthy marriage, just like finances,
Mhm.
budgeting, children,
Right.
where we're going to live, all
Yeah.
of that. So
And that might be the first hurdle.
that's the first is
Yeah.
pull the thing out of the box,
Yeah.
off the back shelf, and have a
Mhm.
discussion.
Right.
I am going to throw out a book. I have not, I do this. I start a book. I don't get through it, but I like the first part. And I'm like, oh, that's a good book. And then I recommend it. So I'm going to recommend this book. I've not read all the way through it. So I'm only telling you that what I've read so far has been good. I'm not sure where it's going. I will get through it, but
Yeah.
it is called The Great Sex Rescue. So
Mm.
I think that is a good also place to start. There's a lot of conversation early on in that book about the purity culture and some of the things that we're taught that are not what is scriptural. And I find it fascinating what people can teach and get away with that isn't even in the Bible,
Mm.
like Christians.
Yeah.
It's amazing what they can teach. That's not even in the Bible anywhere. And yet you've built this whole doctrine around this.
Right.
Anyway, that book would be my other recommendation.
Right.
And I think that's where I'm at right now. So what are
Yeah.
your
Well,
other...
here's the thing I would say is there is a concept in the Bible of seeking, knocking, and asking, right? Seek and you shall what? Find. Knock and the door shall what?
Will be open.
Right. Ask
and you will receive.
And you will receive. So the fascinating thing there, and I won't dig into this deep because we need to probably shut this time together down. But the concept there is not just seek, knock, and ask. Oh, well, that didn't work. The concept is seek and keep seeking. Look at it, study it, dig into it for yourself.
Yeah.
Seek and keep seeking. Knock and keep knocking. Ask and keep asking. The promise is that you will. So
Yes.
if you believe the promise says seek and ye shall find. So seek, 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 seek until you find.
Yeah.
Knock, 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 knock until the door is open, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the concept there. That's where I fell short for years, is recognizing there's a problem here.
Yeah.
Put it in the box, put it on the shelf. I didn't seek, I didn't knock, I didn't ask, right? And I used excuses like, well, there's not good help out there, et cetera, et cetera. Well, guess what? When I finally was like, okay, no, seek, knock, knock, ask, seek again, knock again, ask again.
Yeah.
You suddenly start realizing, oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't fit me. Might not be bad stuff, but that book, nope. That podcast, nope. Oh, wait. This works.
Yeah.
This is speaking to me. This is helping.
Yeah.
And it helps us, right? So you mentioned a book. I'm just saying, I'm telling you, there's resources out there. Today, it's easier than ever to seek that out, but it's going to take some effort, most likely.
Yeah.
And you begin by having the conversation. One last thought I had is you said that the conversation is, you have to take the conversation off the shelf and have that conversation. You might not be doing that because you don't know what to say. You don't know how to have the conversation. Well, you know what? Your spouse probably doesn't either. So you just do it. And it's clumsy, it's messy, it's awkward. You might say things you wish you hadn't said. You might, because you're, it's unsure, whatever.
Yeah.
Just do it and dig into it and you'll figure it out. And you the beauty of it is you can do that together.
And continue to believe the best about your partner when they do that. Because
in the whole process,
when they say things you don't appreciate, you can believe the best about them, understand that what they're trying to accomplish is for the good of you as a couple. I do think this one has gone long, surprisingly, when it's something that we're both like,
I don't know. Yeah. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us in these conversations. It's
Feel
important.
free to respond, email us, text, whatever,
not hard to find.
Comments.
Yeah.
Because this is one of those topics that I think part of the reason we haven't discussed it till now is that it's hard and trying to understand like what things to talk about. So even if you have ideas and suggestions, leave it in the comments, make notes of it. That way we see it, but others get to see it as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, have fun seeking, knocking, and asking. Yep. And we will see
you soon.
See you soon. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening and watching, whichever way you're doing it. And please subscribe, ring the bell, whatever the venue allows so that people hear about these.